Welcome back to PRN Test Drive. I'm James, and this is the 2025 Genesis GV80 Coupe. Now, my friends in Ontario a couple of weeks ago showed you the full-size 3-row Genesis GV80, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to show you the other side of the coin with the Genesis GV80 Coupe. Because I think that the Genesis GV80 Coupe is the solution if you want something that's highly luxurious while also staying pretty sporty at the same time. So today, I'm going to show you all around the vehicle, the interior, the exterior, and of course, we're going to take you on that test drive. Once you're finished watching this video, go and watch our video on the full-size version of the GV80 and let us know which one you'd prefer. So let's get started with what is under the hood. We have the 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 with a 48-volt electric supercharger. You heard that word right. It is an electric supercharger. We are now in 2025 where we have that kind of technology, and I absolutely love it because this thing outputs 409 horsepower, 405 pound-feet of torque. So a little bit more horsepower than the top line of the Genesis GV80 full-size 3-row. Now we also get an 8-speed automatic shift-by-wire transmission. Of course, we've got the all-wheel drive. Now I've also got the electronically controlled suspension with the road preview, and of course we have a limited slip differential. Now my price comes right in around the $105,000 Canadian mark, which is a little bit more expensive than our full-size 3-row Genesis GV80 that we took a look at, but I think I still prefer this one, and let me take you around the exterior and show you why. So starting up front, we have the very nice redesigned headlights for the Genesis GV80 Coupe. It looks really, really nice for both models, whether you do the 3-row or the Coupe. The front end changes are very, very minimal. You can see I've got a slightly changed front grille here. Same thing on the full-size 3-row. But honestly, I think the small changes are good because last year it still looked very luxurious, but also very sporty at the same time, the GV80. So I feel like you didn't need to change that much. So I'm glad that they didn't. We've also got a full 360-degree camera option. So of course we got the front-facing camera, a ton of parking sensors all over the place. And I do really like the chrome here on the bottom. Usually red chrome, sometimes you would want to black it out, but I think you should actually keep it exactly like it is. Overall, I think this is a really sporty looking front end, and I'm an absolute fan of this red paint. So next up, we're onto the side profile of the Genesis GV80 Coupe. You can see here that we have the nice swooping back because we don't have a third row here. So when we get to the trunk, I'll show you whether or not that actually affects the trunk space or not. But I think this looks really, really cool. It reminds me a lot of the BMW X6 that we drove not too long ago. But honestly, I think I might actually prefer the design here of the Genesis. So what else do we have besides the chrome, the nice tinted rear window? We've got these awesome looking rims here. I actually like the rims on the Coupe version better than the full-size 3-row. I've also got the sensor for the intelligent door handles, one-touch lock and unlock. It is a sensor, so is it going to work in the winter? I don't know yet. I do like the chrome on the door handles. However, it does get dirty very often and very fast because your hands are pretty much always in contact with it. Next, I like as well the nice turn signals that are on the side, which is also synced with the front. So it kind of comes all the way back. It's all synced up. It looks really, really high class. I've also got a camera right underneath my mirrors, of course, for that 360-degree view. Very high quality. We like that as well. And also, last but absolutely not least, we've got all 4 doors, soft closing doors. Check this out. The car takes care of it. That's all you need to do. So for the rear of the Genesis GV80 Coupe, we have kind of a more aerodynamic look. It kind of is a little bit more compact than the full-size 3-row would be. I love these taillights though, wrap right around the body. I like our all-wheel drive badges, the GV80 badge right there. I like how they also don't hide the exhaust. This is very much meant to be a sporty version. Although the sound might not be ideal or you really can't hear it, there's a lot more pumped-in audio than anything else, I still like to see some nice exhausts. Now, we do not get a rear wiper, but I think you're going to be able to get away with that because the angle of the rear windshield is really slanted. I feel like snow and stuff like that, once the windshield gets some heat into it, would actually heat up quite nicely and it'll just fall off. Maybe it would have been nice to have one in case, but I think you're going to be able to squeak by without it. I also like the fact that we have kind of this double rear wing. Again, goes to that aerodynamic look that I think Genesis were going for with this. And we also, tucked underneath one of the rear wings, is the nice camera for our digital rear view mirror, which is a luxury item that I absolutely love having. So last but not least, let's open the trunk. The button for it is nice and hidden, or nice and integrated right above our rear-facing camera. Press that. Of course, it is an automatic opening and close tailgate, and this is where the Genesis GV80 shocked me the most. I thought that they were going to take away the third row, and since it's a coupe, it's going to have, you know, a roof line that just kind of shoots right down, and it absolutely does. And I thought that would take away trunk space, but that's absolutely not the case. I feel like they took away the third row seats, but left all of the trunk space. I love this cargo privacy shade right here. It's very easy. There's no retractable stuff. You just fold up, fold down. You got a little bit of storage underneath the floor here as well. And our seats in the rear, you can fold them down with just the press of a button because they are automatically powered. I really enjoy that. And again, a nice little luxury feature. But there you go for the exterior. Let's hop on the inside because we have a ton more space to go over. So sitting in the back seat now of the Genesis GV80 Coupe, and already, I think the main concern for people is there enough headroom? And I can tell you that absolutely, yes, there is. There's actually a surprising amount. You can see I'm not even touching my head. I don't even feel like I'm close to the roof line at all, which again, makes me feel like this is more of a full-size SUV than a coupe. But still, I really enjoy it. Look at the quality of these rear seats. Nice and stitched leather, really nice orange stitching on the inside as well. It is black, right? There's nothing crazy to look at, but I feel like the stitching and the different use of material here will separate things. You got your Bang & Olufsen speakers back here as well, so that is going to be a huge plus. I can move the passenger seat from my back seat here. I've got controls on the side, typical of Genesis. I've showed you that before. I've also got my own vents as well as my own climate control. These rear seats are heated and ventilated, so excellent touch right there. I've got 2 USB-C ports as well as a full power outlet back here. I enjoy it. I've got a good view of the sunroof, which is nice and tinted, so enough light comes into the cabin without actually having you get blinded by it, which is super nice. I've also got this little cup holder guy that's very, like, it's kind of difficult to pull down actually, and once you're down though, it's very nice. Again, continues with the leather, and we have a little storage compartment right here inside of it. So I love to see that stuff. So overall, I feel like the back seat, I could no problem do a road trip here. I've got plenty of space for my legs, plenty of space for my knees. I'm 5'11" for reference, and look at this. I can also block out the people that can't afford this vehicle with this nice shade, which we always love to see that. But let's hop in the business end. Let's check out up front. All right. Business end now, up front, the place to be in the Genesis GV80 Coupe, the driver's seat. Oh yes, we have this really nice steering wheel. You could see on the full-size 3-row, it was a big, you know, your regular big circle kind of steering wheel. Mine, however, is a nice D-cut. It's a little smaller from the looks of it, but you still got the 3-spoke. You still got, you know, your physical buttons for your cruise control, your lane centering assist, stuff like that. And then you've got your volume control and the ability to control your gauge cluster with the right side of the steering wheel. And you have your volume controls. We do have some nice paddle shifters because this is a sport-oriented SUV. Now, over on the door, I really like the difference in material here. I love the orange stitching once again. You can also see here that I've got orange seat belts as well. The orange stitching is also in the steering wheel. I love it, love it, love it. I think it's really cool. We've got 2 levels of memory seats here. Of course, we've got both driver and passenger seats that have the massage feature in them, and they're of course powered. Now, moving on to our massive digital infotainment display as well as our gauge cluster, because it is all one screen. I think it is really cool. I think it's really high quality. I love this change. I think that, you know, just have one screen. I think it's nice, although you maybe can't use it to the fullest extent because although there isn't any kind of gap or bezel gap here in the middle, you still can't really put anything here because simply you can't really see it. But I still like the view. I still think it's, you know, a relatively luxurious item to have. Now, the infotainment display is a little complicated to get used to at first. There is a lot of stuff to go through, a lot of things to kind of figure out. You kind of have to take some time and actually use it, but I feel like Genesis have made it a little bit easier if you enter the 3D setup mode. If you press that, it rolls up a vehicle it rolls up the Genesis GV80, exact model, exact color, at least in my case, and it kind of gives you pinpoints. And then say you want to customize things inside, you'll press the See Inside button. It'll bring you inside the vehicle, and you can kind of change different parts of the interior without actually having to look for it in a menu. I think that's a really nice touch. Now, of course, we do have our Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and I believe there is a over-the-air software update that will come to make that wireless. Very nice. Now, one thing very interesting, I know that Victor also talked about this in his GV80 review. They have now a mood curator, which can do things like give you a massage or play, a different type of tune to kind of help you relax. And also it'll use the fragrance feature in here to kind of change the scent. I didn't get to test the fragrance feature because there was none installed and none came with the vehicle. So unfortunately, I don't know what that's like, although I do have buttons for it in here. So let me know how it is if you actually own one of these things. So that was one of the things that I would have liked to try, but unfortunately we didn't get to this week. Now, a little bit lower, if you're not a fan of physical buttons, you're not going to be a fan of the HVAC controls because it's all physical kind of haptic feedback touch buttons. So overall though, it's worked for me. That's the most important thing, is does it work? And am I constantly touching the same thing to get it to work? No, I'm not. It's always working. I've got my heated steering controls, my heated and ventilated seat controls here as well. The knobs though for changing the temperature are physical, which is nice. You got quick access buttons, which you can kind of press it and then quickly access your media and stuff like that. So I think it's a good system overall, but of course, I prefer physical buttons. Now, if I open this little compartment right here, I've got 2 USB charging ports, as well as the wireless charger and a 12-volt outlet. Over here in the center console, we have this nice wheel control that I can control my digital infotainment display while just sitting here, because it's kind of far when you're actually sitting in the driver's seat. So you want something like this. It's very easy while you're driving. You have a fingerprint sensor because you can activate your Genesis with a fingerprint. I obviously don't do that because this isn't my vehicle, but if it was, I would make full use of that. We've got a nice gear selector here, this nice kind of diamond looking thing, very high quality. I also like the trim here on the center console, very nice, very well done. We've got couple of different drive modes. We've got our Sport Plus, the My Mode, Comfort, and Eco, and then we have the Snow, Mud, and Sand mode for the terrain, and it's of course controlled by this nice little wheel as well. I've got a button here to quickly bring up my full 360-degree parking cameras. I love it. Does a full render of the vehicle. I think it's a really nice touch. And then we have a little bit of storage in here. It opens up. There's a little compartment that you can actually pull out like this, and you have a deeper storage in there. Very nice. And I also like when you have your heated seat on, whether the passenger or driver, this side or the left side or the right side of this nice armrest will actually heat up. Very cool. So overall, I really did enjoy my time sitting inside the Genesis GV80 Coupe. It is luxurious, it feels sporty, it really does look sporty as well. And I really think, like I said in the beginning, this is your solution if you want something that's highly luxurious like this. The seats are comfortable, nice colored seat belts, really nice headliner trim, the works. Anything that you could want, you pretty much have it in here. Of course, you're paying a pretty price for it, but I still think it's worth it overall. And I really do think here with Genesis, you get your money's worth. So as I mentioned before, I don't know if the Coupe name is just in it to make it sound sporty, because I have so much space in this interior. The only time I really feel like this is the Coupe version is when we're ripping around on the streets. So let's go and do that. All right, so on the road now, where it belongs and where it shines the most, the GV80 Coupe. Look, it's been such a comfortable week. Despite not having a full-size 3-row, I don't feel like I've lost out on anything, even spatial-wise. I really think that for my needs, spatial-wise is perfect. Like you saw maybe a little bit in the rear shot that you could see a little bit of the baby mirror that I have. I do have my baby seat in here. It fits really well, no problem. You know, say I need a little bit more space for her back there for her stuff, I can easily just do that and adjust it without actually having to reach over or do anything from the panel there on the seat, which I think is really convenient. It's extremely comfortable. I think there has been things said as well about, like, you know, air suspension. Obviously would be nice to have. I would not hate if, you know, they added an air suspension to either one of the models. I feel like the Coupe definitely doesn't need it. I think the ride quality is tuned perfectly here. Even when I'm in Sport Plus mode, I'm still extremely comfortable. I don't feel like I need some type of raising or lowering suspension. I think it's actually perfect the way it is, and I think they don't need to add one specifically in the Coupe. Obviously, in the full-size 3-row, it would be something that just adds to the overall luxury, and I honestly see it as something that Genesis will probably add in the future. So speaking of Sport Plus mode, let's throw it in. Sport Plus mode, I might add, actually turns my traction control off. I have perfectly dry roads, so that's not something that's going to scare me a little bit, but I don't know if I'd put it in this mode in the winter too much. But let's give it some gas here. Let's rip it. Oh yeah. Yeah, that electronic supercharger, yes, supercharger, really eliminates a lot of turbo lag. I feel like the 48-volt supercharger kicks in first, and then the actual twin turbo kicks in. It is such a nice feel. Like, I just have power when I want it. It kind of does give you that electric first acceleration, and then you can almost hear the engine kick in. When you're already going though, there's really not that much lag. This thing is really cool. I would like to see this added to something like the sedan Genesis. That would be something that's really shining, or like something. I just want to see this go across the board. I think electronic superchargers are possibly the future of, performance vehicles. I think we might start to see them a lot more, and I'm glad that Genesis has adopted it early, because man, that's cool. Oh yeah, the pumped-in audio is definitely there. There's not a whole lot of noise coming from my exhaust, but you know what? I don't know if Genesis owners care that much about it. Now, another really cool luxurious feature while you're driving is the lane centering assist. Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, they've got probably one of the best ones, and now I've got a little sensor right behind the steering wheel that's going to watch my eyes, so the car is actually going to ask me to keep my hands on the steering wheel a lot less, like it's doing it now. Usually when it does turns or curves, it's going to ask for your hands to be close or on the steering wheel, but when you're heading in a straight line like I'm about to do right now, it really doesn't ask me to. Now, I will say that you are probably supposed to always have your hands near or on the steering wheel for safety purposes. Me though, just for testing, I'm kind of not putting my hands on purpose to see if it's going to yell at me, and it's not really asking me for it, but it is, however, watching my attention level. That sensor is watching my eyes and my face to make sure that I'm always watching the road. And now I am controlling the throttle myself. I'm controlling the acceleration and braking, but you can throw this into the adaptive cruise control mode and you can just have yourself a nearly automated driving experience. I say nearly because I don't think it can change lanes or anything for me, but it can do the straight line driving and follow the highway very well, so I enjoy that. It actually takes curves really well, despite me like having my hands kind of on the steering wheel. Like, I'm touching it, right? You can see this. I'm touching it, but I'm not really manipulating it. That is all of the cameras and sensors on the Genesis doing that all by itself, and I think it's really good. I never feel like it's going too much left or right. It stays perfectly centered, even when it's turning a corner. Really important. Now, I also got little cameras inside my mirrors like I showed you before on the side profile, but what I didn't tell you is that it also pumps into my gauge cluster. So right now I have my right turn signal on, and I can see it's displaying the camera of my right turn signal. So I could actually not really need to check my blind spot. Obviously I always do in case on the highway and stuff, but I can perfectly see the other lane of traffic there with the camera. A lot of the calligraphy models and stuff like that of the Hyundais and Kia have that, so that's really nice to see. So I've definitely showed you on the channel before, but of course a luxury item in the Genesis as well, and we really like that. Now, I have been saying Genesis, Kia, Hyundai, whatever. I don't feel like that, you can call this a touted up Hyundai. I really think that Genesis is its own brand. I think it's its own identity, and I think it needs to stay like that, because, I think that, any Genesis, you can take any one of the lineup, it doesn't even come close to comparing to even the top model of Hyundais or Kia. They are just in another league of luxury, and that's all they focus on is luxury, and in some cases a little bit of sportiness, and they do a really good job. They leave kind of the consumer stuff and the luxury, the sort of luxury stuff to the top end Hyundais, but the overkill stuff, you gotta get a Genesis, and I do like it, and I think it's a good thing that their brands are still separated. Now, in terms of fuel economy, I'm doing about 14.2 liters per 100 kilometers. I've driven about 300-400 kilometers by this point in the week, which is not ideal, and also is going to give you an idea if you're ever wondering if that electric supercharger helps with efficiency as well. I don't think so, or at least I have not seen it. I think it's purely performance oriented. That little battery there, or that little electric supercharger, is just purely there to help you rip around and do it fast and fun, while also not really being an actual fully powered normal supercharger. It's such a different take on it, but honestly a feat of engineering, I will say. I also really enjoyed the visibility in here. I feel like the windscreen for the coupe really comes up quite high. We also kind of have this nice kind of shaded area too of the windshield. So that way when the sun's really in my face or it's kind of in that area, I really don't get blinded that much and I don't have to bring down my actual sunshade, which is very convenient. So overall, for the Genesis GV80 Coupe, after seeing Victor's video, I really like the interior of the full size. I like the tan. I like the way they did the steering wheel. It is a big vehicle, but it's honestly too much space for me right now. And even if I were to add a second child to the mix, I still think I would go with the coupe because, like I said, they really just didn't take that much space away from you when you do the coupe. Like, they took away a third row. For sure, you can't sit back there, but you can store a ton of stuff in the trunk now. I feel like the back seat still has a ton of headroom and leg room for fully sized adults. You've got heated seats, you've got a great sound system, great looks with the orange accents all around here, and a really, really nice drivetrain. Shift-by-wire is really good. I enjoyed it. Handling is not bad. It's what you'd expect from a pretty big SUV. I mean, don't get me wrong, this SUV still has a big presence despite not even being a third row, but I feel like the coupe name or the coupe, word is just kind of thrown into the name just to kind of be more sporty, because this still feels like and has felt like this whole week a full-size SUV, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because this thing packs a punch regardless. So let me know what you think. If you've watched both videos, or if you already own maybe the full-size Genesis GV80 3-row, let me know what you think. Do you like the coupe more? Which one are you going to go with if you had the option to just go with either one? I really want to know your thoughts. If you're an owner of this vehicle, let us know in the comments how the reliability is. That's the only thing that we can't speak to here because we only get these cars for a week and they're perfect all week. We really don't have any mechanical failures or anything weird like that. So can't speak to the ownership side. So let me know if you're in the market. What do you think overall of the Genesis GV80 Coupe? And with that being said, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you the next week. See you in the next car. Take care.